that's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine.
Hello everybody, different day, different review will be coming up, but didn't realize I did finish speaking in my previous video, which ended abruptly, which I'm probably just going to put this at the end of that video, because it isn't uploaded yet chronologically, but I was doing it in my car, because my parents and my brother were home, and it's all quite loud when they're home, so, but my phone kind of overheated, so I got about like 14 and 15 minutes in, and then it kind of just ended. I mean, luckily I was pretty much done with what I had to say, but the video would have cut abruptly, so I just want to explain why that happened, because it kind of overheated in my car, so that's why. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the second book by James Luceno. I don't think it's as strong as some of the other ones, but it was still fun. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you have a good day. See you next time. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, narrated by Disney, or Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it, Legends. Today I have for you Balance Point by Kathy Tyres, of course the one who did Truce to Bakura and wrote a couple short stories. Of course the Japanese art for this is much better, but this is that. I don't have too much to say about this. I think I enjoyed this a little bit more than James Luceno's duology, if not just for the case that it's only a single novel and it's a bit quicker. I enjoyed the connections and the characterization more of all these characters in James Luceno's work, but this just went by much faster, which was pretty cool. One thing I wanted to mention is that it has now officially been a year since the war began. When the Yusong Vong War began with Vector Prime, Jason and Jaina were 16, and they're twins, so of course they're going to be the same age. And Anakin was 15. In this book, very early on, we get mentions of the fact that Jason is 17, which by virtue of that means that Jaina too is 17, seeing as how they're twins. And if Anakin isn't 16 yet, he most certainly will be very shortly, and he unfortunately won't go too much farther than that. But I won't get too much farther into that by what I mean by that. But I just want to mention the passage of time, that at this point in time, this war against the Vong that's been going on, you know, for now 6 books, it's been a year, which is insane. You know, you think about World War II, right? For all the people that aren't old, right? Like all the people that didn't grow up with that, all the people that only heard about that, you know, you think about the fact that that war went from like what, 1942 technically to like 1945 where it ended. So that's several years of war. You don't really think about that these days. Even with the Afghanistan stuff, it's so like secluded from, like, if you're in America, it's such a like, yeah, you're hearing about it on the news, and of course if you got family in the military, then you're being affected. But outside of that, like everyday stuff, you know what I mean, politics comes and goes, you know, gas prices rise, gas prices fall, new politicians, new things to debate, new things to argue about, but at the end of the day, every normal day living remains relatively, in the grand scale of things, the same. You still go to work every day, you pay your bills, you get gas, right? Rinse and repeat, like that's just your life. You don't, the grand scale thing doesn't really affect you, but this Yusong Vong War, and that kind of is how it is for people on Coruscant right now. Because so far it's been going from, you know, out in the, you know, unknown regions and everything, and it's progressively, if Coruscant is the epicenter, you know, and you have all this space in between there, they're encroaching upon, right? And this is kind of the next step in that, because the planet that this book mainly takes place on is on Duro. Duro, of course, are the I don't want to explain it. You know, the guys, the big head guys. If you're a fan of TCW, which I am very mixed on, there's the bounty hunter Cad Bane. He was also in the Boba Fett show. If you're a Disney canon enthusiast, that race, it's that planet of those people, and that's one of the closer places to Coruscant. So if the Vong take that planet, they are one step closer to reaching Coruscant, which is kind of the epicenter of the New Republic. And if that happens, the New Republic officially falls as the central power in the galaxy. It's interesting. I don't want to get too much into spoilers, but you know, basically we have everyone. We have Luke, we have Mara, we have Anakin, we have Jason, we have Jaina, we have Naminor, we have more of Tezvong Law, and all this stuff going on Duros primarily with refugees. Droma's kind of around. He's not really as much of a character anymore, though now that's not written by James Luceno. And it's all about like helping the refugees on Duros, because Duros kind of did this thing, because a lot of planets aren't accepting refugees right now. Obviously, like it's the same thing like America. If we were to just like every refugee in, like, what do you do for your own citizens, right? But the workaround that the Duros said, like, hey, we'll feed you, we'll try our best to take care of you, but you have to help us rebuild stuff and to like make like our living situation better. So like a give and take. Like, we'll feed you, provide you shelter, you help repair stuff for us. You know, I think that's pretty much a fair deal. But that's kind of where they're at right now, because pretty much since after the duology by Stackpole, Leia's been trying to help refugees. And Han's been kind of doing his own thing. Now he's finally like getting back with his family and is starting to try to reconcile with Leia, because he's been kind of a dick. And everything else that's been going on with that. So things come to a head. Jason's annoying philosophy, I'll get more into in spoilers, is kind of like the foundation of this book, primarily, with I can't do anything. And he's still, you know, complaining and whining and da-da-da-da-da, and that's kind of the balance point, is what happens near the end of this book, where he finally decides to embrace the Jedi stuff. A little bit of a spoiler there. But yeah, he does eventually embrace the Jedi stuff. I will say again, nothing in this book, you know, to anyone who tries to argue that this leads to Jason turning to the dark side. No. But at the same time, there is one piece of evidence here that never goes away. And I'll prove that to you as we get through Traitor and onward, that it never truly goes away. Because one thing that is consistently talked about in this book, and has been mentioned in other books, is Jason's pride. It is not the same sort of pride that Anakin Skywalker had, or that Dooku had. It is a different sort of pride. It's the pride in, I know what's best. Even though he says he doesn't judge other Jedi for what they do, that they should follow their own path, but if he is right, he should be telling others that they're wrong and making them change their ways. But when Luke says, are you telling me that I'm doing wrong? And Jason says, not necessarily. He says, well, if you're right, that makes me wrong. So you can't have it both ways. We'll get into that more in spoilers, but the fact of the matter is that Jason is a very prideful person, at least according to New Jedi Order, because this wasn't a thing in Young Jedi Knights. In New Jedi Order, they try to retcon, oh, he was always this deep, philosophical person. You just never showed it. You just never showed it. But that's clearly not at all. At all. And you're a lying sack of garbage if you say otherwise. Not a shred of evidence in the Young Jedi Knights books. It is a retcon to say, now he is this. He was always this, you just didn't realize it. It's a retcon. And it works fine, but don't lie to me and say that this was some perfect continuity that just fits like a glove, and this is clearly the intention of Kevin J. Anderson and Rebecca Moesta, and this is just like a clear progression of his character. You are fooling yourself to make your position about later stuff better. But the one consistent thing we must remember is pride. And we can see as we move forward if I'm wrong and this magically goes away. But from memory, I don't remember this being a thing that actually gets addressed as in leaving Jacen. It just switches goalposts. But anyway, by the end of this book, Tez Vong Law is doing stuff to Leia. I won't get into spoilers with that. And Jacen has to finally go, am I going to cut away from the Force forever? Or am I going to act? And he finally decides to act. And it's one of the coolest scenes in Star Wars because he just, sheer Force power, chucks a freaking table at Tez Vong Law, throws him out the window. It was like a Force Unleashed moment. And you literally hear Tez Vong Law be like, his legs like snapped. Like they I don't think they broke, but they are seriously injured. And so he has to live with that. And by the end of this book, he wants Jacen alive so he can mess with him. Because Jacen was supposed to be like the biggest coward of them all. And Jacen was the one who managed to hurt Tez Vong Law. So he's pretty upset about that. But yeah, Jaina gets like no love in this book. In fact, most of these books, she doesn't get that much love. I think it's one of the reasons a lot of people love Jaina. And I mean, like, fair enough. She's pretty cool. But at the same time, so far, this series has done nothing to really establish her character outside of being like Han, but a Jedi. And, you know, we'll see when that changes after Star by Star. But as of right now, she's just kind of there. So far, Anakin and Jacen have been given the most characterization. She's just kind of palling around right now. So hopefully that changes. I do remember it changing, but it's just kind of annoying right now that she's just kind of there and doesn't have much to do. I just feel bad for her because she deserves more. But yeah, Leia and Han kind of make up. So they're basically make up at this point. It's not explicitly clear that they do, but they're basically well and good. Luckily, there is a short story by Troy Denning. No, but seriously, there's a short story by Troy Denning which is in Star by Star, but takes place before Star by Star, and probably after this story, where Leia's healing. And they kind of like reconcile with each other and lovey-dovey, and it's cool. So, well, we'll talk about that next time, along with a fan fiction by a certain friend, but we'll get to that next time. But yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say without spoilers. But by the end of this book, basically not only is Jacen being targeted, but all of the Jedi are being targeted. It's the Heath Ledger Joker moment where he goes, every day that you don't reveal who you are, people will die. And believe me, I'm a man of my word. You know, but basically Tez Vong Law, the Vong are like, hey, we won't kill and enslave all of you if you give up the Jedi. And that's kind of where the book ends. So, there's that. But that's pretty much it for non-spoilers. I thought this was a really fun book. Kathy Tyres is great. I'm sad she didn't get to write, like, too many novels, right? She only has this. She was a recorder, and then she wrote some short stories. But I like Kathy Tyres. I think she's really cool. And I really enjoyed this book. I remember disliking it more my first time, but I appreciated it a lot more the second time through. And maybe just because it's the one time it's a single novel without a duology attached to it, so it's kind of just nice. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, and I think you will too. It's the New Jedi, it's New Jedi Order, baby. So check it out. So getting on to spoilers now. If you don't care about spoilers, leave. You know, Jacen's flawed philosophy really bothers me. It's so frustrating to hear him about, like, I can't fight, or I can fight, but I can't use the Force. You know, everything about what he says is so infuriating to hear. But that's his character right now. And Mara, one thing I didn't mention in the non-spoiler section is that Mara is now pregnant. And we'll see the fruitions of that down the line, but right now she is pregnant. And Nominor believes in himself. It's one thing that kind of gets revealed here, but as you keep going forward, you see more and more. Nominor, you know, all the Vong believe in their religion. Nominor believes in himself. He doesn't really care about the Vong religion. It's all a means to an end to further his goals of power. Nominor is the biggest atheist in this entire section of the Vong. Like, most of the Vong are pretty stereotypical, like, they all believe the same thing, but Nominor isn't one of them. It's all about power for him and reaching the top. He uses religion as a means to achieve further ends. Many people have done this in history, where they don't actually believe in it, but they use it as a means to advance themselves. But he literally just wants power and wants to stay on top. And he'll use whatever means it takes to achieve that. And I love that about Numenor. He's such a great villain. I love him more than Tazvang Law, and I've only heard mentions of him so far, but definitely more than Overlord Shimra or other characters that I can't mention because of spoilers. But if you've read this series, you know who I'm talking about. But regardless, I love Numenor. Yeah, and then Jason's Pride. It's a thing that's been going on since the beginning of Vector Prime, and it has not gone away. Even at the end of this, when he decides to use the Force, it doesn't go away. He just decides that his destiny, he must use the Force. But it's this thing of him always thinking he knows better, even when he knows he doesn't, because he's young. But it's great getting him to be so frustrating early on, because it makes it so much more satisfying with his character arc down the line. And I'm not talking about post New Jedi Order, just New Jedi Order alone. It's satisfying to see him change from where he is right now. That being said, I think it also works wonders for future stuff. It's such a tragic story for him. And something that works really well, because pride comes in many forms. And I do think this is... I don't think this is what any of the New Jedi Order people had intended, but I do think you can extrapolate from it, if you really want to, a means of sowing something. A retcon, you might say, just like retconning that Jason was always philosophical in Young Jedi Knights when he wasn't. I'm sorry, you're just a liar if you say otherwise. But, you could retcon it that way. That the pride was always something bad. And it is. As I'm reading through it, it is something continuously like a red flag that you don't want in a Jedi that's consistently there. And people seem to think, oh, well, he was enlightened by Verge, so now all of his character flaws are just gone now. What? I don't know what books you're reading, but it's apparently not the same. But apparently he's Jesus Christ after unifying Force, so there's no way he could go dark. What? Who are you? Who do you think you are? But no, I mean, it's a love-hate relationship. I loved him in Young Jedi Knights. I hate him in the first half of New Jedi Order. He's my favorite character in the second half of New Jedi Order. And I love him in every story moving forward. Sorry, not sorry. But yeah, it is a very interesting thing that gets addressed throughout all these books, is Jason's pride. And I'll be excited to see where that leads further down the line. But the next two books primarily shouldn't focus on Jason. They should be focusing on Anakin. So we won't deal with Jason until a couple books down the line. Until then, guys, may the Force be with you.